Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. Hope everyone's doing good. It is 9:55 on a Tuesday morning. Pretty nice day today. The weather's been pretty sweet. We had a lot of gray, overcasty day, but then it got to be pretty nice. We're in the middle, almost in the middle here of July of 2025. This is crazy. So yeah, I went to the movies on Sunday with some friends and got to see a movie that I was really anticipating. And to be honest, I was a little bit worried about seeing because I was like, thought that there were going to be some factors in it that were going to cause the movie not to be very good. But it ended up being a uh, really cool movie. I was really kind of surprised, and I was totally into it. And that is the new Superman. I am in the midst of uploading the video. It might not be up to for a couple of days, but definitely check that out. I'm also this weekend. I think I'm gonna go to see another movie, the new Ari Aster movie, Eddington. I think it's called. I love him as a director. The only movie I couldn't make it all the way through with him, as far as his films, which I kind of honestly think it was a big misfire, was the last film he did, Beau is Afraid. But his track record before that is pretty amazing. I mean, I love uh, Hereditary. I think it's just, even though it's been out for a few years, I feel like that movie is a modern day horror classic. Love that movie. I love Midsummer. I think Midsummer is just an incredible movie as well. And he did a short, his very first movie, which is, I mean, not a full length feature. It's a short, and I think it's called. There's something about the Johnsons, and it's a short film, and it's like 25 minutes. And I think technically that was the first thing he ever did, and that came out a few years, I think, before Hereditary. That's online. You can find it online, and that's one of the most disturbing movies and things I've ever seen in my life. Um, Check that out if you get a chance. It's hard to. I remember when I first watched. I had heard about it, and I found it online, and I watched it. I had to like. It's only 20 minutes, but I had to like pause it for. I had to take a break and walk out because I was just like, Jesus Christ. But it's amazing. So he has a new movie called, I believe it's called Eddington, and I think I'm going to go see it on Saturday. It's actually going to be in the theater, so that would be. I'm actually looking forward to seeing it. It looks pretty intense. I'm hoping it will be more of a film experience as opposed to Beau is Afraid, which was like, I don't know really what that film was. It was like, it was a misfire. I couldn't make it all the way through. It was a painful experience because it was so drawn out, and so I just felt like it had great ideas and great potential, but it just felt so overwhelming. And maybe that was the case, or what the point of that movie was. It was more of an experiment in like your threshold of pain. I don't know, but he's still a pretty awesome director. So I'm kind of excited on possibly seeing this movie, especially an Ari Aster movie, which is not your typical movie, and just that getting a chance to see one of his films in the theater. So I might see that. I think I'm gonna go possibly on Saturday night. So I'll definitely do a show on that. But today's show is yet another video on. I've been. I just finished it last night. This new series called Andor, which is absolutely badass. I loved it. It's amazing. I finished it last night. I finished watching the series with this feeling, overwhelming feeling of like, whoa, like that's it. I thought I had much more to go, and it was over. And I'm like, whoa, like I literally finished the last episode last night, and I kind of ended up watching it a little bit too late. But I was in it to win it because the tapes or the DVDs are due back today. I got it at Opera House Video, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm obviously gonna have to watch this. So I finished it, and I had watched a little bit of it earlier, and then I had to make a phone call, so I was on the phone for a while, and then sat back down and made a little bit of a dinner and sat and watched it, and then before I knew it, it was over. I was just like, what? But it was terrific. I was stunned by how quickly it ended. It was, yeah. And typically in a lot of series, like the last episode is, tends to be a little bit longer, like kind of the opening, the premiere. That's usually how TV shows are usually told narratively. But this wasn't the case. This was like, it felt like it was kind of a shorter episode. But nevertheless, it was fantastic. And I can't recommend this series enough, Andor. It's one of my favorite new series. I would totally buy this on Blu-ray. It was an awesome experience. It's it's unique. It's truly its own thing. It's a standalone show, and the production value, the way um, the characterization is, the plot, everything about it, for me, doesn't really feel like a television show. I mean, obviously the way it ends, because I think season two has just come out or is coming out really soon. The one thing I will say is it does end on a quote unquote cliffhanger. So, but nevertheless, I was like, I'm into it. It's and for me, the way the whole narrative is, the story, the way it's all laid out, it feels like just one giant movie. And there's about I believe 8 episodes, I think, on offhand on uh, for season one. In today's show, I'm talking about season one, of course, of Andor, episode 4. And for episode 4, again, such a great story. The general story, or what this series is about, I went into it totally cold. I literally thought I didn't know if this was a sequel to something, some kind of prequel, or totally one off kind of a thing. It is a prequel, but it's done in a very unique way that it doesn't feel. It takes place about 5 years before Rogue One, which I was not really I'm not really a fan of that film. The thing with that movie that I thought was so unbelievable was that you just it was I felt like the way the story and everything was laid out, you just kind of know. I mean, you know already, but it's really laid out to the point of where it's very predictable where it's going to go. In the storyline of the Star Wars universe, of course, you have Rogue One is supposed to take place, or Rogue One does take place before A New Hope, Star Wars, where it's the rebel alliance basically, and it's about the origins on how uh, the people of the galaxy rise up against the fascism and the horrible things that the Empire commits on citizens. And the rebels come out of that as a revolution. And Rogue One is about, the Empire eventually devises this plan to create the Death Star that can basically destroy entire planets. And Rogue One is about the plans of the rebels to stop this. And then they all get crushed, and then that leads into A New Hope. But with Andor, again, I went into it not knowing what the hell it was going to be about. I knew it was based in the Star Wars universe, but that was it. I actually even thought going into it that Andor was about maybe some was going to be set on this planet that might have been called Andor or some kind of alternate universe. But Cassius Andor is actually the leader of the becomes the leader of the Rebel Alliance. And this film, timeline wise, takes place 5 years before Rogue One. But again, at face value, that could be like, well, boring and just like predictable because you know how things are going to be, and you know the outcome, you know. And I feel like with Rogue One, it was so laid out and it was very predictable as to like what was going to happen. And it could have gone further. It could have been there could have been more. There could have the writing could have been better. It could have been more exciting. It could have not done or had felt obliged to incorporate a lot of the tropes. But with Andor, the series, is it doesn't do that at all. It even though going into it, or now that I've been watching it and I finished it, and it took me maybe an episode or two to realize, okay, that's kind of what's going on here. Even though that's the case, that it does take place 5 years before Rogue One, it still felt really fresh, exciting, and new, and it wasn't predictable. And there was a level of intensity to it, and it was, you know, all the characters were really fleshed out. All the characters were fantastic, and it was unique because I felt like it was truly a standalone movie or series. Even though I, obviously know the outcome, but fantastic. And that to me is like testimony to just a really well conceived idea, really fantastic writing, a great cast, and you just have that chemistry on screen with all these characters. And it does give like there's a lot of things in Andor that we've never seen in the Star Wars universe, and it gets away from those tropes. And that's the thing I love the most about this series is it just gives you a new, fresh. It feels like it was presented on a fresh, clean slate, and you're going to see something unique. You're going to get, even with the science fiction element and the technology that you're introduced to, and the music, for instance, all these things feel fresh and new. And there were a lot of things that I saw in Andor that I never saw in any other Star Wars movie. And then overall, I just love it because it's really gritty. It's a little bit more grounded, but yet it totally delivers the science fiction action experience. So in episode 4, out of options, Cassian joins a mission to infiltrate an Imperial garrison on Aldhani. On the city-covered capital world of Coruscant, an agent of the Imperial Security Bureau starts to piece the information regarding the disturbance on Ferrix. Fantastic episode. Again, each episode, I feel like with this series, each episode just gets better and better. And the more, I think, which was definitely the case for me, go into this cold if you haven't seen it. I know it's been out for a few years. It came out in 2022. But still, if you can stay away from not knowing anything about it, it's even better. So, episode 4 just continues this whole thrilling saga, and my favorite episode so far is the first one, episode 1. It's absolutely amazing. But I do say at the same time, I can say at the same time that I do think each episode does get better. So thanks again, and definitely check out Andor. This is episode 4. Peace.